read the Bible in a year, day number 76. Deuteronomy 17, 18, and 19. Chapter 17. You shall not sacrifice to the Lord your God an ox or a sheep in which is a defect or anything evil, for that is an abomination to the Lord your God. If there is found among you within any of your gates which the Lord your God gives you a man or a woman who does that which is evil in the Lord your God's sight in transgressing his covenant, and has gone and served other gods and worshipped them, or the sun, or the moon, or any of the stars in the sky, which I have not commanded, and you are told, and you have heard of it, then you shall inquire diligently. If it is true, then the thing certain that such an abomination is done in Israel, then you shall bring out that man or that woman who has done this evil thing to your gates, even that same man or woman, and you shall stone them to death with stones. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses, he is to die, shall be put to death. At the mouth of 1 witness, he shall not be put to death. The hands of the witness shall be first on him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So you shall remove the evil from among you. If there arises a matter too hard for you to in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, and between stroke and stroke, bring matters of controversy within your gates, then you shall arise and go up to the place which the Lord your God chooses. You shall come to the priests, who are the Levites, and to the judge who shall be in those days. You shall inquire, and they shall give you the verdict. You shall do according to the decisions of the verdict, which they shall give you from that place which the Lord chooses. You shall observe to do according to all that they teach you, according to the decisions of the law which they shall teach you, and according to the judgment which they shall tell you. You shall do. You shall not turn away from the sentence which they announce to you, to the right hand nor to the left. The man who does presumptuously in not listening to the priest who stands to minister there before the Lord your God, or to the judge, even that man shall die. You shall put away the evil from Israel. All the people shall hear and fear, and do no more presumptuously. When you have come to the land which the Lord your God gives you, and possess it, and dwell in it, and say, I will set a king over me, like all the nations that are around me, you shall surely set him whom the Lord your God chooses as king over yourselves. You shall set as king over you one from among your brothers. You may not put a foreigner over you, who is not your brother. Only he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he may multiply horses, because the Lord has said to you, you shall not go back that way again. He shall not multiply wives to himself, that his heart not turn away. He shall not greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. It shall be, when he sits on the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write himself a copy of this law in a book, out of that which is before the Levitical priests. It shall be with him, and he shall read from it all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes to do them, that his heart not be lifted up above his brothers, that he not turn away from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the middle of Israel.
Deuteronomy 18. The priests and the Levites, all the tribe of Levi, shall have no portion nor inheritance with Israel. They shall eat the offerings of the Lord made by fire and his portion. They shall have no inheritance among their brothers. The Lord is their inheritance, and he has spoken to them. This shall be the priest's due from the people, from those who offer a sacrifice, whether it be ox or sheep, that they shall give to the priest the shoulder, the 2 cheeks, and the inner parts. You shall give him the first fruits of your grain, and of your new wine, and of your oil, and the first of the fleece of your sheep. For the Lord your God has chosen him out of all your tribes to stand to minister in the Lord's name, him and his sons forever. If a Levite comes from any of your gates out of Israel where he lives, and comes with all the desire of his soul to the place which the Lord shall choose, then he shall minister in the name of the Lord his God, all his brothers the Levites do, who stand there before the Lord. They shall have like portions to eat, in addition to that which comes from the sale of his family possessions. When you have come into the land which the Lord your God gives you, you shall not learn to imitate the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found with you anyone who makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, one who uses divination, one who tells fortunes, or an enchanter or a sorcerer, or a charmer, or someone who consults with a familiar spirit, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord. Because of these abominations, the Lord your God drives them out from before you. You shall be blameless with the Lord your God for these nations that you shall dispossess. Listen to those who practice sorcery and to diviners. But as for you, the Lord your God has not allowed you to do so. The Lord your God will raise up among you a prophet of your brothers like me. You shall listen to him. This is according to all that you desired of the Lord your God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the Lord my God's voice, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I not die. The Lord said to me, they have well said that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brothers like you. I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I shall command him. It shall happen that whoever will not listen to my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet who speaks a word presumptuously in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other gods, that same prophet shall die. You may say in your heart, how shall we know the word which the Lord has spoken? When a prophet speaks in the Lord's name, if the thing doesn't follow nor happen, that is the thing which the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. You shall not be afraid of him.
Deuteronomy chapter 19. When the Lord your God cuts off the nations whose land the Lord your God gives you, and you succeed them, and dwell in their cities and in their houses, you shall set apart 3 cities for yourself in the middle of your land, which the Lord your God gives you to possess. You shall prepare the way and divide the borders of your land, which the Lord your God causes you to inherit, into 3 parts, that every manslayer may flee there. This is the case of the manslayer who shall flee there and live. Whoever kills his neighbor unintentionally and didn't hate him in the time past, and when a man goes into the forest with his neighbor to chop wood, and his hand swings the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slips from the handle and hits his neighbor so that he dies, he shall flee to one of these cities and live. Otherwise, the avenger of blood might pursue the man slayer while hot anger in his heart, and overtake him because the way is long, and strike him mortally, even though he was not worthy of death, because he didn't hate him in time past. Therefore, I command you to set apart 3 cities for yourselves. If the Lord your God enlarges your border, as he has sworn to your fathers, and gives you all the land which he has promised to give to your fathers, and if you keep all this commandment to do it, which I command you today, to love the Lord your God, and to walk ever in his ways, then you shall add 3 cities more for yourselves. In addition to these 3 cities, this is so that the innocent blood will not be shed in the middle of your land, which the Lord your God gives you for an inheritance, leaving blood guilt on you. But if any man hates his neighbor, lies in wait for him, rises up against him, strikes him mortally so that he dies, and he flees into one of these cities, then the elders of the city shall send and bring him there. They deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, that he may die. Your eye shall not pity him, but you shall purge the innocent blood from Israel, that it may go well with you. You shall not remove your neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set, in your inheritance, which you shall inherit it, in the land that the Lord your God gives you to possess. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity, or for any sin that he sins. At the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, shall a matter be established. If an unrighteous witness rises up against any man to testify against him of wrongdoing, then both the men between whom the controversy is shall stand before the Lord, before the priests and the judges who shall be in those days. And the judges shall make diligent inquisition, and if the witness is a false witness and has testified falsely against his brother, then you shall do to him as he thought to do to his brother. You shall remove the evil from among you. Those who remain shall hear and fear, and will never again commit any such evil among you. Your eyes shall not pity life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot.
Deuteronomy 20. When you go out to battle against your enemies and see horses, chariots, and a people more numerous than you, you shall not be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt, is with you. It shall be, when you draw near to the battle, that the priest shall approach and speak to the people, and shall tell them, Hear, Israel, you draw near today to battle against your enemies. Don't let your heart faint. Don't be afraid, nor tremble. Neither be scared of them, for the Lord your God is he who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. The officers shall speak to the people, saying, What man is there who has built a new house and has not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle and another man dedicate it. What man is there who has planted a vineyard and has not used its fruit? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle and another man use its fruit. What man is there who has pledged to be married to a wife and has not taken her? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle and another man take her. The officers shall speak further to the people, and they shall say, What man is there who is fearful and faint-hearted? Let him go and return to his house, lest his brother's heart melt as his heart. It shall be, when the officers have finished speaking to the people, that they shall appoint captains of armies at the head of the people. When you draw near to a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace to it. It shall be, if it gives you answer of peace and opens to you, then it shall be that all the people who are found therein shall become forced laborers to you, and shall serve you. If it will make no peace with you, but will make war against you, then you shall besiege it. When the Lord your God delivers it into your hand, you shall strike every male of it with the edge of the sword, but the women, the little ones, the livestock, and all that is in the city, even all its plunder, you shall take for plunder for yourself. You may use the plunder of your enemies, which the Lord your God has given you. Thus you shall do to all the cities which are very far off from you, which are not of the cities of these nations, but of the cities of these people that the Lord your God gives you for an inheritance. You shall save alive nothing that breathes, but you shall utterly destroy them, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, as the Lord your God has commanded you, that they not teach you to follow all their abominations, which they have done for their gods. So would you sin against the Lord your God. When you shall besiege a city a long time, in making war against it to take it. You shall not destroy its trees by wielding an axe against them, for you may eat of them. You shall not cut them down, for is the tree of the field man that it should be besieged by you? Only the trees that you know are not trees for food you shall destroy and cut them down. You shall build bulwarks against the city that makes war with you until it falls.
So I guess we're seeing Moses' final directions or directives to the Israelites before they take the promised land here. And he's warning them that when they arrive there, and we're going to see this later on in the scriptures, that they're going to look around and say, they have kings in all these other nations. We want kings as well. And God reminds them, okay, make sure I'm the one that chooses your king, because there's dangers when it comes to that.
Yeah, with the kings, he warns them against it when they are going to have kings, that the kings shouldn't have wealth, power, and women to really guard them, their hearts against that, because you see how all those things influence mankind today. Wealth, people go after wealth and use that as a security instead of going after God. Power, people try to, a lot of people, not everybody of course, but we're talking about just generally in society, that the more power someone has, the more some people can feel stronger or that they're better than other people.
Sure.
And we've seen so many times how power can go to the head of people, and it can go to their head, and how it can impact their life, but the life of the people around them is greatly impacted, often in a terrible way, if the power is misused. And then finally, women, throughout history, from the very beginning, the problem with women and men has been there from the very beginning, and we see that it hasn't changed.
True.
That men can so easily be swayed in their decisions and how they live and how they think. Not saying that all women are bad, but it can become a focus for men. It can distract men. And this specifically is what God is saying here, how the men, he said, the kings need to even have their own Bible to read every single day to keep themselves from being corrupted.
I like this. I like this point. They should have a copy of the law before them every day. The more you read God's word, the more it keeps us in check and keeps us humble. We realize that it's a mirror showing us our weaknesses and our flaws and how great God is.
And it's also, I think, really showing us direction.
Yeah.
This is what to do. This is where to go. These are some warnings. This is what's happened in the past. And technology has changed, but the heart of mankind has not changed over these thousands of years.
We see that. Yeah. Yeah, it's so true.
And also how I noticed how God is continually reminding them, I took you out of Egypt, remember, I fed you. He's reminding the Israelites here of all the things that he's done and helping them to get courage, to be encouraged, to go into battle.
Yeah. It's not, our religion is not a set of do's and don'ts that set us up to feel good about ourselves, but God's reminding them that they are who they are because of him and all that he's done for them.
Yeah, and he's reminding them that I'm here. I'm going to go, just like I went ahead and I did all these things for you in Egypt, which were amazing things, and I rescued you. He said, I'm the same God. So it just reminded me of when we have to make big decisions, tough decisions in our lives, and when we need to do the right thing and make the right decision. Sometimes that's the most difficult times in our lives, when we're struggling with that decision. And it reminds me of how, we need to just remember all the good things that God has done for us, not just the Israelites, but for us in our lives, and that he's going to continue to do good things for us. But there is a caveat, and he says to trust him,
Sure,
to follow his ways, and he will make sure that we're taken care of. to not take things into our own hands.
Yeah. And then finally, we see God preparing the Israelites for battle. You know, they're going to go into this promised land and they're going to face adversary and challenges and battles. And it's interesting because he gives us kind of a different perspective of going into battle. He says to these people, you know, if you have a new wife at home or you have a new vineyard, go back and enjoy that. You know, we don't need the one person. You know, God is saying it's him that's doing the fighting for people to be strong and courageous.
And I think too, maybe it's that he didn't want them to be distracted
Maybe,
by
yeah.
these things. They just built a house, or they're going to be thinking about that. Because then also he talks about, if you feel like you're not up to this, if you are afraid, then don't go into battle. Because
Yes.
you're going to have a negative impact on the people around you. And it just made me think about how he calls us today, when we decide to become a Christian, he calls us to count the cost. And if we're not really thinking and really able to go into battle, to do it with all of our heart and the way that God wants us to do it, then it'll hurt us, but it'll also hurt the people around us if we're kind of like half Christians. If we're not truly in the battle 100% with our heart, it's going to impact the people around us
So very
in a
true.
negative way.
Yeah.
And he said, just don't go into battle. If you're not ready, go home. And he obviously wants to win the battle, and he will win every single battle that he wants to win. But he's saying, if you're not ready, get ready. When you're ready, come back. But if you're not ready, don't go into battle, because you'll melt the hearts of the people beside you.
True, true. And I find it interesting as he finishes off, it's not two different standards, but he's saying that there are different ways you deal with battle.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's in the promised land or outside the promised land, you have to deal with them differently. You know, inside the promised land, he says you destroy everything. But outside the promised land, you start with peace. And, you know, I don't know, what is your perspective on that?
Well, I mean, what do you think that's talking about? I think it's talking about, I mean, if we want to look at that today, in applications of today, we can see that I think we can apply that with the church, right?
Sure. You know, I think God was preparing the Israelites to deal with sin radically, to purge it from their midst. There's a reason that God was bringing about a righteous judgment against the people of this land because of their idolatry and their paganism. And he was going to wipe it out and didn't want it to pollute the Israelite hearts. That's in the promised land. But outside the promised land, it's a different story. You start with peace, and if they respond in peace, okay, great, then we can make things work here.
And how do you think that applies to the church today?
Well, I think we have to deal very specifically with sin in our midst, in our lives. Not that we're going to wipe and kill people who are in sin, but we need to be serious about it. We can't just play around and have people playing church, because it's going to affect the whole congregation in the church. If you've got someone who's complaining or bitter or divisive, it's going to destroy and tear apart people's faith. We need to deal with it very specifically and very directly.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Bible, the New Testament does talk about that for sure, where, I always say there's three things: sexual immorality, divisiveness, and greed. It actually says that if people are claiming to be Christians, they're within your congregation, that it says actually to distance yourself from them so that they can just realize and wake up, what am I doing? I'm not following God. I'm following the ways of the world. Interesting. What was it? It was wealth, power, and women.
For the
Wealth
kings.
for the kings. Doesn't that sound very familiar?
Sounds like our modern day politicians.
But it sounds like wealth, greed, divisiveness, power, and immorality.
Women.
Women or men, right? It's the same thing. It hasn't changed. I just realized that it's the same thing that was affecting the kings now and at that time, and now he calls for us to have this righteousness that surpasses that of the Pharisees, he says, now as Christians today. So the standard isn't just for the kings today, the standard is for all Christians.
That's great. See you again next time.